Nej.
En ulykke dernede.
Ja, ja, klart. Det er jo lidt ligesom den, der jeg heller ikke har spændt fast ind i midten.
Ja, lige præcis.
Så fordi de bliver presset over i hovedet.
Han blev presset ud, sagde jo, og så var han op.
da gætte det. Til dig?
7. Welcome to the Danish Rental Kart Championship 2026. We're in the Danish countryside. Qualifying has just gotten underway. My name is Marcus Solm, and I'll be talking you through the day today. We've already had a couple heats before this, but now it's the 5th heat of the 5th round. We're getting very close to the semi-finals. Just 3 heats left. Then we have a short lunch break. Then it's time. Well, it's crunch time, we can call it that, that's for sure. We're about to find a champion later on in the afternoon, towards the evening. But for now, we have a couple heats to get through. The 1-lap qualifying is on now. Currently provisional pole for Jerry van Bussel, but still a couple guys that need to come through and set in their lap time. As we see someone knocking over a little stick in the pit lane right there in your bottom corner, which is of course quite practical. We have the little pit camera in the bottom left, and in this race the drivers need to come in and make a pit stop of 3 seconds. You can see on the bottom left there are the lines, there are the pit boxes. The drivers pull in there, they press a button, and then the little green light, when the little green light turns on those little boxes on top of the tires, then they can drive out, which is a 3-second wait. However, if they overshoot the boxes just by the tiniest bit, it's a 30-second time penalty. We saw that multiple times yesterday, which really cost something for even last year's champion, John Delvaye. Overshot the box just by the tiniest margin, and yeah, got a 30-second time penalty. Now the drivers are lining up and getting ready to get underway. Now, if you guys have any questions, make sure to put them in the live YouTube chat. We have Thomas Ronhart tuning in. Good morning. We have Tom Lipscomb. What's up? And Roy Harmon. Welcome all to the YouTube chat. Now, if you have any questions, we'll try to get them answered. I'll try to answer them as well. And then, you know, today's just going to be a lovely day of some good racing. We see with these rental karting races that the racing is just incredibly close. Everyone's pushing flat out, and I'm sure we'll see that a lot going on today as well, right? Because today we're fighting for a championship, where later on the mindset might just be a little bit different. Instead of just fighting for race wins, of course you want to be the best you can, but the mindset just changes a bit when there's a championship on the line. We see that as well. And we saw that as well last year, right? Whenever we got to the final rounds, and we see that in championships like Formula 1. It's just different whenever you're fighting for a championship, and today is championship day. So I'm sure we will see very entertaining stuff. Onto the formation lap we go. Drivers just trying to get a bit of heat into their tires so that they can have any little advantage on the race start that, well, it's essentially possible. We see them now run very, very close to each other as we go onto the start-finish straight, about to get underway. You can see there Sven Henriksen in pole position, just looking behind him, hugging the inside line into the first corner, into the 90-degree corner, closing it off, making sure that no one gets through as we're 3 wide, down in the mid-pack, 4 positions, down into turn 2, and onto the chicane, onto the straight, side by side through here can be quite tricky at times, but they do it anyways. Managed to get through cleanly for now, but a big bunch of cards heading down the back straight. You can see the top 5 are already gone. They've already put in the gap, and have essentially managed to get themselves into a position where now they can just focus ahead, try to work together to build that gap. And that's sort of their goal for now, while the guys behind just battle it out. You know, for them, that's just the goal now. They just need to get as many points as possible. The race has settled a little bit already, but we have some side-by-side action down at the back of the field. Already some, you know, at this point, the back of the field, they're already seconds behind. And by battling, they just end up losing just even more. Of course, we have the strategic element of the pit stop, which the pit lane entrance is to the right of your picture. You can see it heads uphill there. You make your way into the pits, take your 3-second stop, and then you can leave again. Of course, the importance of this final round, the final heat, is a lot of these drivers have been driving all the 4 rounds yesterday, all of them, and racked up points. This is your final chance to sort of get those points on the table to progress into the grand final or the semi-final. So for a lot of these drivers, this is maybe make it or break it, as we see there a bit of contact with the barrier and some hand gestures from getting pushed out there from... I didn't quite get to see who that was. Fortunately, we will know in a second, but yeah, let's see if someone's going to dive into the pits. Someone just was here. You can see them pressing the button, and then the green light turning on 3 seconds later. You can see they're rejoining down onto the chicane on the back straight. You can see there at the bottom, waiting till it turns green, jumping in the go-kart in the bottom left camera to just get it going as quickly as possible. But yeah, as we talked about, like for a lot of these drivers, you know, this is perhaps the final chance they have to get those points on the board. We do have 1 drop round within these 5 first rounds, so some of these drivers have already also used that up, you know, so they have to finish this well, because if we look at the standings at the moment, the top drivers are essentially very close once you take away their worst their worst finish. We have about 13, the top 13 drivers in the standings within 10 points of each other, and currently leading that way is John Delvaye and Bobby McGurr on 110 points, and then just 10 points down to covers the top 13 or top 14. So it's really about just having that consistency throughout a whole day like this and making sure that you get the good results consistently. You know, whether you win a race or finish second, that's not what's the most important. The most important is being in that top 3 or top 5. Pretty much every race you do, you have 1 drop round. And drivers like John Delvaye has already used that 1 drop round, so he can't afford. He couldn't afford. He's already raced in his final round, but essentially going into the final round, he couldn't afford to have a bad race if he wanted to finish at the top of the standings, because he'd already used that drop round. Drivers like Bobby McGurr, he's been flying all the way through. He's had 4 great heats, so he still has 1 more heat to go here in Heat 5. And for him, it's not really the biggest worry. You know, there's no really big consequences if he doesn't finish well, because if he finishes at the back, he'll just use this as his drop round, throw away the points, and they essentially won't count anyways. And that puts him pretty much at the top of the standings already, because he's been absolutely... He's been really doing well, Bobby McGurr, yesterday in the 4 rounds. But he's not racing in this race. Let's focus in on this one. As I mentioned, we still have 2 more heats left of the final round after this one before progressing to the semi-finals. So some good racing incoming. Then there'll be a bit of a lunch break after the 2 final heats of this. I'm going to get one of those burgers they have over in the lounge area. Really good. They do actually make some good food here, and yeah. And well, after that, that's enough burger talk, I guess. But after that, we head into the semi-finals, which will be which all will be driven. Of course, we have 2 different layouts that we're racing on now. The semi-finals will all be driven on the VG alternative layout, which is not the one we're currently racing on. We're racing on the VG Classic, which has a pit stop included. On the VG alternative, it's actually kind of the opposite. On the VG alternative layout, we have a joker lap included, which cuts about 17 seconds of time off the lap itself. So it's essentially the opposite of taking a pit stop, because instead of losing time, you're gaining time, which also adds a bit of that strategic element on when you take your joker lap. It's essentially right here. Instead of turning the 90-degree corner, they take the hairpin, and then this is actually the joker lap that they're driving through right now. If that makes sense, but that'll be for later on. That'll be for the semi-finals. Then we have a little break before we get into the drivers' presentations and the grand finals and secondary finals. which will be driven on a bit of a mix on the Classic, on the alternative layouts. But for now, we're on the Classic. We have the pit stop strategy. Right here, we have a four-way battle. In the YouTube live chat, someone asking, when is my stint? Well, my stint technically starts now, if you count it that way. My commentary stint starts now. In terms of the driving, I'm not going to be on track, which is probably not the worst thing. And these guys are very experienced in rental karting and have a lot of knowledge about how to drive these karts, because it's certainly a pretty unique driving style. You're also playing a lot with the weight in these karts, because you know, essentially half the weight of the kart is your body, so you can use your body to influence that as well. Which now I do some sim racing myself. Where of course that doesn't affect anything at all when you drive in it, but I do notice myself leaning a little bit in the sim as well, just old habits from driving in go-karts and stuff as well. You know, it carries over to the sim, which is quite funny, because you know, at the end of the day, that's the good thing about the whole world of racing, whether it's karting, whether it's race cars, whether it's sim racing, they all combine pretty fluently together. You have a lot of the same techniques and a lot of the same, you kind of use your mind and how you go about things in a very similar way. So now the race coming towards, slowly making its way towards the ending. Currently Sven Hendrickson in the lead by just 0.2 of a second, and he's got 6/10 down to Max van Laar, which is it's reasonably settled, but these guys out of the front are incredibly close. I wonder if we'll see a move for the lead of the race at some point. Can't see that right now. So for now, for this round 5, we have this camera angle as well, but for the semi-finals and for the finals, we'll have more camera angles, more broadcasting. We'll also get a camera in the studio. So whenever we have a break or have a driver interview or something like it for the semi-finals and the finals, you'll be able to see us, which I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. Depends on how you look at it. And yeah, the final couple drivers making their pit stops now, rejoining onto the track. And now it's all about racing flat out to the very end of the race, which is incredibly soon. Looks pretty certain though, Sven Hendrickson just with a 0.3 gap. Out in the lead, and I wonder when we cross the finish line, because we only get the standings updates when we cross the finish line, and that does look like a little bit bigger of a gap. That's definitely not a gap that you're making an overtaking maneuver from right there. And here they are, crossing the line. Sven Hendrickson takes the win. Follow Max van Laar. You can see the gap, 0.7 of a second. That's not what you're making an overtaking maneuver from. So. Well, actually, oh yeah, actually that's completely my bad. I've completely misread the situation. They're coming in for their final pit stops now on the final lap. So this will be coming out onto the final lap. There was some problems as well for someone in the pits right there, crossing over the finish line, just parking his kart a bit offset, which is definitely not what you want. We're just getting warmed up. This is my first race of the day, so apologies for that little inconvenience as well. But now it's the final lap of the race now, and it is incredibly close right here. But here now we see the red lights on the start-finish straight. There is the checkered flag of Jerry van Bussel, with actually a pretty convincing gap down to second place, but a big group of people finishing in very closely. But Van Bussel just taking it by almost 4 seconds, took his pit stop a bit earlier on, then was sort of able to just run his race a bit alone and just put down the consistent lap times and take home a victory. Now we're coming into the pits. The cars are going to be swapped out. Well, the drivers are going to be swapped out. We just need to weigh a couple of people. So the top 3 get weighed, as well as 2 randoms, just to make sure that they're not underweight. And that's essentially the quick process that we go through now while the next drivers get ready to get in for the next heat. 2 more heats before we progress into the semi-finals. Consequences are high. This is when it counts for the drivers, especially for the finals and the semi-finals. And I'm expecting a lot of good racing, so make sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Danish countryside. We are back, and I fetched myself a co-commentator. I'm here with Noah Weichel, who we also had in the studio yesterday. Well, more of an expert than me, that's for sure. Knows how to drive these cars and have driven here and competed in these rounds, Noah. So it's good to have you on board. Currently, we're getting ready for the Heat 6, so we have 2 more heats remaining, essentially. Now, we quickly just want to mention that. If you have any questions or want to say hello or anything, you're allowed to do so in the YouTube live chat.
When is Marcus then?
Yeah, we have Otto asking, Marcus, are you going to be a commentator at the KWC too? Well, no, I don't have it planned. I think they have something else. Same lap time, absolutely. We had same lap time in the qualifying session, but now we're about to get ready. Well, we're about to get racing. Down into the first corner we go, everyone hugging the inside line. Pretty
some chaos.
Yeah, definitely some chaos going on down at the back of the field, and a bit onto the grass as well there. Getting very close together, but the race has sort of settled down. Now, what happens here on the rest of the first lap, Noah? You're still very high adrenaline from that race start, but you have to focus.
Yeah, you're still looking for some positions in the beginning of the race. If it's possible to gain some, that is good, because then you can move up quickly. As we can see, Ian, Bobby and Jakub are slowly making a gap to the rest of the field. We have Bobby is actually in the lead of the championship with Ian right about the same points as I am. There's still some shuffling. Oh, there's shuffling going on into the middle of the track. We have guys going 3 wide at the exit of the corner, going 3 wide into the next corner. Might not avoid contact, but we have avoided collision. We have, oh, there's some small crashes down in the last corner there.
Just outside of the frame. And yeah, as you mentioned, with Bobby McGurr, who's currently in 2nd place, well, he's essentially... He can essentially not really have any consequences from this race because he hasn't really used his drop round yet. He's been absolutely flying and very consistent in all the races. So in case it goes wrong for him, he gets a penalty or something like it and finishes last place, he can just throw the points out the window. He doesn't even have to think about it.
It's a lovely position Bobby is in now, that he can actually finish wherever he wants, unless it's a DQ, then he can't pull that result. If he avoids a penalty and finishes last, that is good for him, because then he can just pull that result and he's still in the lead. He will split the lead with Jean Delay, who won the morning heat here at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. in the heat I was in as well. You can see they're making a bigger and bigger gap. They're slowly just working together to make a gap to Jakob in 3rd place and Brand in 4th. See them go for the first corner here. Someone going side by side, not avoiding the wall, and the exit might be a penalty coming towards one of the Spanish drivers. I think that is Serrano in 7th place. We have some guys in the Joker lap as well, in the pit stop.
Yeah, and absolutely. Now, if we're looking at the lap times here, Jan Lepela put a 54.4 last lap and Bobby McGurn a 54.3. What sort of lap times are you looking to do at this track in good conditions, and what sort of lap times do you think you're looking for right now? Because we were just outside, it's pretty cold. There are like slight raindrops in the air, but nothing significant enough to affect the track state, but it still just adds a bit to that humidity.
In the morning heat it was me, Valdemar Andersen and Jean Delvaye. We were all 3, I think, below 53.8. So we're doing really quick lap times. Currently, as you see, Ian crossing the line doing 53.9, so they're slowly getting down to that pace as well, with the rest of the field following through. Bobby is slowly just dropping back a bit. Ian is making a run for it, trying to increase his lead, make it easier for him to win this race.
Absolutely, and that also has something to do with the tire temperatures, right? So when you go out, for example, in qualifying, the cars have been standing still for a little bit because you've had the swaps. Then you have one flying lap, and then you're standing still for the grid procedure as well. How much tire heat do you lose in that bit of time?
Oh, Ian making a bit of a mistake in the middle. I'm not sure about the tire pressures, the tire temps. I'm not really that much of a nerd. I use also the small warm-up that we have to get some heat into the tire, so it's ready for the fast corner of turn 1.
Do you feel it making a difference?
Yes. Of course, the more heat you have in the tires, the more grip you have, and the more grip you have of the start of the race, the bigger chance you have of going faster, getting down to the pace faster, doing faster turns and stuff.
Yeah, and that's perhaps why we see the first lap of the race typically just being a little bit slower, but once the drivers get warmed up and the cars get properly warmed up, you get down to those high 53 lap times essentially. Last lap time at the front of the field, 54.2s, so definitely lapping quick enough to pull away from from the rest of the field. Essentially, it's just Ian Lepela and Bobby McGill out at the front now, lapping and saving their pit stop for a little bit later on.
You see Brian van der Neuende has made a overtake on Jakob for 3rd place. Brian looks to have more pace currently than Jakob. Doing last lap was a 54.0, so he's currently the fastest man on the track, doing 2 to 3 tenths faster than the guys in the front. So let's see if he can catch up to Ian in front.
Absolutely, and well, let's say that he's now made the move now for 3rd place, right? If Jakob then tries to battle that too much, that's going to lose them a lot of time. So essentially, for Jakob now, right, do you think it's just about locking in, just staying behind and letting Bram do the hard work?
Or is Ian in the front? We had someone in the pits also crossing the line, so that's a 30-second penalty to him. The best you can do in this situation here with Bobby and Ian is to just follow each other, try to increase the gap, because if the guy behind is faster than you, the worst thing you can do is beginning to battle and therefore losing the lead you have. There's only a gap of 1.3 seconds down to Bran from Bobby. So there isn't, I think you lose just about 2 to 3 seconds, even more maybe, if you battle too much, as they are currently doing roughly the same lap times and keeping the gap as it is.
Absolutely, and the race is pretty settled, so I want to just ask you a question, right? I know you raced in a heat earlier on today with which I heard was quite interesting. We had there was a slipstreaming penalty from qualifying.
What, to me?
Correct? No, not you. To I believe was it to DeVos?
Oh, someone hit the wall.
Yeah, a little bit
of turn 1.
Yeah, but there was a bit of a penalty for slipstreaming for DeVos, I believe, putting him down at the back of the field for the race start earlier on in the heat, which is also something we have to kind of notice in these qualifying laps. You have one qualifying lap, and you can't slipstream on it intentionally, or you will get penalized.
It is.
Perhaps
that's actually something I didn't know, but it makes more sense now since he wasn't at the front of the. Because Iliano is a fast driver. Also, I didn't know he had that penalty. It was some penalties that were given out also last year and the year before. We were told in the morning briefing yesterday that if we were too close crossing the start line to start our lap time, we would get a penalty for slipstreaming, essentially, because the slipstream is still powerful around this track with the wind we have, because it's an outdoor track. Getting the slipstream would give us 2 to 4 tenths of extra lap time that we would gain. Therefore, the penalty being starting last.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm guessing it's kind of hard for you to know what's going on when you were on the track yourself. You know, it's kind of difficult to follow when you're actually driving, because it's not like you have a giant standings display like you do in a simulator or something like it, or a giant dashboard like you do in Formula Cars or something like it. You know, you're pretty much on your own. You just know you have to make the pit stop at some point. So what do you do for communication, right? Because you have people, teammates and stuff like that on the pit wall standing inside that you sort of communicate with. I see people communicating with hand gestures.
I have my dad here. We have before the race we have some hand signals that we agree on what means. So if I do something and he responds, then I know what it means. It's regarding to the qualifying. It's lap time. How far do you have? How much time do I have to the guy in front of me? How much time do I have to the guy after me? Yesterday it was a funny experience where he showed me a hand, just basically like a knuckle, saying you have 0 tenths to the guy in front and 0 tenths to the guy behind.
Yeah, right. And then you're essentially just running in a train, right? There's not much to do. Absolutely there. We have Gustavo in chat saying Spanish guys going quick.
That is correct.
Yeah.
See, Bran is getting closer. He's slowly just dropping Jakob. We're going to the final laps of the race. We see Jakob and Bobby going for the pits. Bobby made an overtake on Ian for the lead. We see Bobby here in the pits. Is he going to stop before the line? Yes, he is. Jakob hit the wall and will get a 30-second penalty also across the line. So that is disappointing. Also a bit sad for him because he has had a troubling race. We see also Tino Antonacci in the pits. It's what happens if you have too much speed into the pits. You over risk it a bit, you might end up losing time. We are very cautious in the pit entry because it's been just small amounts of rain, small drops, makes the pit entry a bit more slidey, a bit more greasy than the track, because we don't use the pits for other things than the pit stop, you know. So we don't run up here where we're on the track. We run the track the whole time.
Yeah, so you're saying the pit lane essentially doesn't have the same amount of grip necessarily, or it's harder to anticipate how much grip the pit lane has because you're up here so rarely essentially. And in case there are slight raindrops in the air, they don't get cleared out from the pit lane as much as they get cleared out from the actual racetrack.
Of course, we see Ian and Bran going for the pit stop. I think it's the final lap. We can also hear the Spanish guys cheering for Serrano. Is there a camera view for the second corner? I can't seem to. There is a group of 4 guys. We have, I think, someone's in behind. For the guys in the front of the race, can't really seem to see them. Who's in front? It looks like it's Bobby in front with the 30-second penalty. No, that was Jakub. So it's Bobby in front of Ian. So he's made the undercut in the pits. Bobby's trying to keep it defensive. Ian is trying to get by. Jakub is now going side by side with Ian, just below in the picture, and Bran on the inside of well, just pushing Jakub a bit out. So he's trying to make the move. It looks like it's going to be Bobby for the win of the heat. That's his 4th win of the whole championship. So his drop result is going to be his 2nd place. Therefore, he has maximum points going into the semi-finals.
Which is very, very impressive. And as we talked about, you know, he before this he had his drop round sort of in the pocket, so in case he was to get penalty and finish last or something, he essentially wouldn't really have consequences. But now he makes it a perfect 4 wins, including the drop result, and as you say, max points. I'm certain he's going to be pretty satisfied and happy with that. But Ian Lepela finishing just 2/10 behind. You can see now the drivers getting out of the carts.
Might be some unhappy faces. It doesn't look like it. There was a bit of a discussion, I think, between some drivers in the race before, or the race before that. It is, even though it's rental karting, even though we do, I think, 75 kilometers an hour on the top speed, it is still racing. So it's still emotions. It's still people getting angry. Myself getting angry with my mistake I made earlier. Because it is still racing. We still do overtaking, we still do crashing, we still do a lot of stuff.
It's still very competitive, you know. It's a very competitive sport, and you know, a lot of these drivers, including yourself, you put so much into this, you know, in terms of figuring out all the small details, just trying to optimize every little bit with whatever your race suits and your driving and how much you weigh and what you eat and drink before the race, because you also want to weigh just as little as possible. So, right, it means a lot to a lot of these drivers, and that's why get very happy, people get very angry when stuff goes wrong and stuff like that, and that's also why this is super interesting. Anyways, that's the end of Heat 6. Bobby McGirt takes another victory. I mean, for sure, we're going to be seeing a grand finale of absolute content here later on in the day, I believe. Some very good drives from other people, but before that, we have 1 final heat, and then we have 4 semi-finals to get through as well, before we then progress into the grand finals later on in the afternoon.
It's actually going to be a big heat that's coming up. We see Tomek Banadowski, Juan van Vaas, and Dylan DeWolf going into the cars, and Nikolai Masengo as well. So this heat is going to be massive for the points in the championship.
Then Nikolai Masengo as well, just to mention, it's his
birthday
today, so
happy
congratulations and happy birthday to him. Let's hope he can get some good race results. I'm sure he wouldn't mind taking home a championship as a birthday gift or something like it, but you know, before we'd still have some races to get through.
He had some tough heats yesterday, so he's a bit further down in the championship that he would like. So he has a chance to get some points now above some of the other guys who are further ahead in the championship. Dylan DeWolf equal on points with me, I think, or just a bit below. So he also has a chance to gain some points. Tomek, he had a penalty in one of the earlier races. I think it was his Heat 2. So he's also further down in the championship than he would like. Tomek coming 2nd in Sweden and in the BNC championship in Belgium. So he's a fast guy. He's I think he's leading the world rankings currently. I'm not pretty sure about that. So yeah, fast driver. I don't know what car he has. Can we see that? He's in the 54. The 54 has had great pace, so it wouldn't surprise me if Tomek would go out and do a great performance and maybe gain some points for his championship.
Absolutely. Just to mention Masengo, the birthday boy, well, currently down in 38th place in the standings before this race, of course. That is to mention that, well, most of the drivers in front of him as well have already had their final heat, but it's, you know, he needs to climb up the standings. He needs a good result here as well with the drop rounds to make it through in a position that he wants to. And yeah, let's see. This will certainly be an interesting heat coming up. The drivers are getting ready in the pit lane. Let's have a look now as well. In a second, we'll have the updated standings with Bobby McGurr. He should be moving to the top of the standings after, well, essentially getting absolute max points in terms of taking on 4 wins without the drop round. So he should be moving to the top. We get standings like relatively quickly after the heat is finished, so we can keep up with what's going on, which is pretty nice here. And yeah, for now we have these 1 camera angles on the broadcast from the top of the, well, what you want to call it, the pit building essentially, right outside of our tent. If you look on the camera right now, the white tent to the right side, you see the race control, the stewards essentially standing there with the blue barrel. That's where they have access to all the 12 track cameras, where they can look through incidents and stuff like that. And just to the right of that, you don't see it in your frame, but that's where we're sat commentating this right now. We can look over to the stewards as well and see them sitting there, which actually tell us, how is this system now? Because it's the first year using this for the Danish Rental Kart Championship. Last year there was not the camera system, and while we have race control and stewards out on track looking to see that the race is conducted properly, we have this system now with cameras where we can look through incidents and people can protest and get a proper good result.
They mentioned before us that it's been a good addition to the other races they do, because Vandel have a club championship, I heard. They also do other races here, and they have helped. It has helped with the results, or with the fairness of the race, that they've had the cameras that you can look through. You can also see you could see Nick van Ovel, the VAR referee, the VAR race director, having a look on the cameras because of an incident during. You can actually see him looking on his computer currently with an incident being investigated before the race. I think they're also looking for a driver. There's a card empty. Which card is that? We can't seem to see. It is the card behind Horion. I don't know what number that is. We can hear Nick in the background discussing with Jakub Pacincin, the Danish-Polish driver, you can say. Regarding a penalty he got in the heat before. I think that's a slam dunk, because he both hit the tire and crossed the line, it looked like.
Yeah, slam dunk penalty. And that's also what the drivers, in case something happens that they're not happy with, or they need to speak to the stewards, they just come into this tent and have a talk with them or look through the incidents, which is also nice, because then the drivers can actually see the incident on the cameras. They can go back and have a look at maybe what they did wrong, and in case they don't agree with the penalty, we actually just have the replay and we can have a look and they can get explained to it why there's a penalty or why it's not a penalty and stuff like that, which is super practical.
There's a penalty sheet which you can look through, and you can see there's one guy got a 5-second penalty for unsafe rejoin after leaving the track. He might have been pushed off somewhere, and then when rejoining the track he has come back in an unsafe way. Yeah, then we have 3 people crossing the line. Well, 1 crossing the line, and then Jakub unfortunately hitting the tire, which is also something you can do because it's a bit more greasy up here than what it is on the track. It is easier now to lock your rears and then making the carts just slightly turn more to the left as you're coming in the left-hand corner. You brake hard, cart oversteers to the left, and avoiding those tires is not very easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. do you lock up the tires in these?
I try to avoid it, because when I lock up I slide, and if I slide I don't have control over the car.
Yeah, because it's essentially rear axle braking, right? So
yeah.
So when you're locking up the rears, you're completely just losing the control of the car, which is what we saw before, right? Is someone locking up into the pits and just throwing the car sideways, which is not something you want to do in the pits, because, well, there's a tire wall and there is a line that you can't cross. So that's that's a bad place to not have control. That's one thing, that's for sure.
That's also why it's better to be more cautious when you're in the pits, so you don't get that 30-second penalty. Some cross that line and then get the penalty, which is unfortunate, but that's the part of the racing here.
Yeah, and you can look at it pretty simply, I guess, right? Is it better to just lose half a second more by taking it easy, just a little bit more easy instead of going absolutely full push into the pits? Or is it better to try and gain that half a second and then risk getting a 30-second time penalty? Because it's a very big penalty, and in short heats like this, 30 seconds is just going to put you completely out of it.
Now we have found our missing guy, and yes, coming back to your question, it is better strategy-wise to lose half a second in the pits and then avoid the 30-second penalty, because if you get that penalty, your race is done. If you get that penalty twice, you can't use it as your drop result, because then you have another, let's say, 18th finishing position, and those points are really hard to take for your championship, because then you would really have to perform and really have some luck throughout the if you get into the semi-finals and through the finals to go up positions. As we can see, they are beginning their qualifying laps, the hot laps. The top 4 guys, I think it's top 4 or 5 cards from the left row getting up first, and then slowly just easing at the other guys. Tomek at the back in a car 54, so he might have a good lap time coming up. Let's have a look for that.
Yeah, and he'll be one of the last guys to cross the finish line as well and set in his lap time. Anyways, qualifying underway for the final normal heat, I guess we can say, of this championship. Next up after this are the semi-finals, and later on progressing into the finals. So you're joining us for a very good time.
Yeah, we have the VAR referee Nick van Overveld coming over to have a look of the setup. We can see you just down here in the tent.
Yeah, so now
is it tough today? Not really. No. Is it gonna be? It's okay.
All right, yeah. So just to elaborate for the people viewing the live stream, we just had a quick visit, quick look from the steward, having a look at what's going on while there's qualifying. There's not so much to monitor right now. And you mentioned that before, when there was a 7-car train pushing each other through, you know, you had to look out for what was going on the cameras. Anyways, the end of qualifying, drivers crossing the line now. We'll get the initial lap times here.
Oh, it is close.
And Max up and got very close indeed. But remember, we have Tomek, which you predicted to be quick in the car 54, coming over the line as one of the last drivers. So we essentially can't know until the very end.
It is very close.
The birthday boy, putting in a time that's 4.5 tenths off, which can definitely make a big difference.
Currently we have Max Opdenkam in the pole with Juan van Vars just a couple hundredths of a second behind him, and Asger Rasted, the local boy from yesterday, in 3rd place. Dylan de Wolf in 4th currently, and Harald Stilling, who is in car 52, also a car with great pace, in 5th. Elias Tillier in 6th. Tomek going in 4th, so he's just under a 10th slower than Max Opdenkam. So top 4 is close.
The top 4 within a 10th of a second, and 5th place as well, just above that. It's incredibly close in the top 5 for this race. We're going to have a crazy one, I believe, right here, but there's just there's 2 tenths down to 6th place.
Max has gone another way around. He's using the longer. He nearly went around the other way.
Yeah, we saw as well, I didn't see who, but someone else was having his hand up, putting his hand out for what he was doing there, and I don't know if that was a mistake or...
It is sometimes when the layout, the line they use there to go over to the grid is not the race layout. We usually just go to the right and follow the track, as you can see, and if you have a track map. What they do there is to make the warm-up lap shorter so you can get the race going quicker. Some guys drive the normal lap to get to the grid. They don't penalize it, I don't think they give a warning either. They just tell the drivers to remember to just cut there. Because you can gain some more tire temps. If you do that longer lap, you have more time to warm up your tires.
Yeah, so technically it's an advantage, right?
It should be.
Yeah, you just well, interesting. But I don't think he used the full extra lap. He just
he got told. Yeah, he got told in was that after turn 4 on a classic layout that he needs to go back and cross into turn 10.
Yeah, the normal road. All right, we're almost finishing lining up here, and then we're going to do the short formation lap, where we essentially just turn right in turn 1, and that's just to get these races quicker underway. There are so many races in a weekend like this, and so many heats, so it's all about efficiency for the race control, trying to get these races as quickly done as possible so we can move on to the semi-finals and stuff like that. And it's mainly to be able to have so many races, because with 125 drivers in this championship that all need to be points scored throughout a weekend like this, there is just a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and efficiency is definitely a key word.
We can see on the suits they have on, it's a Talent Factory 1 and 2, and then Asger from VG Pro Team in 3rd, and we have Tomek Banadowski from Blue Star Racing Team in 4th. another Talent Factory driver, and Dylan DeWolf in 5th. So those 3 guys in top 5 might be able to work together. The Blue Star Racing team being friends with Talent Factory, so it's essentially 4 against 1. Asger has put him in an unfortunate position to be in this.
Yeah, he's in a sandwich as they get ready to go racing here. He floors it out the front up and come and doesn't actually cover off the inside that much because he has a teammate right behind him. We're side by side down for P5 and also further down the field for position. And that we normally see the leader going defensive.
Dylan DeWolf losing 3 of maybe even more position. They were like cutting the chicane.
Oh!
And some tires going on, a big contact down in the chicane. We can see driver stopping. Hope everybody is okay.
Big contact and now a tyre that's right on the racing line, or right on the racetrack there.
They have red flag the section. Those are they will restart the session. I think there were three wide going into the chicane. Nikolai cutting the chicane, completely going over the grass, and other guys not being able to avoid the tyre walls. It is the first major collision we've had all weekend. Currently we see also Thomas Jørgensen, the event manager, going onto the track, maybe to give a message to the drivers saying calm down. We were told this morning or yesterday morning that if we got back to the racing that we did, the racing standard that we did last year, we wouldn't be able to drive more, basically because we were a bit too hard, let's say it like that.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of chaos, let's say it like that last year, especially getting towards the finals where stuff started really counting and stuff like that. But for now, this could also just be an unfortunate incident. You know, there was a lot of cars going into the same corner at the same time, and this chicane, it doesn't really have more than one racing line. You know, you're changing directions from left to right in this chicane all the time. And, well, if it goes wrong, there's a tyre barrier there. You know, you can't just jump the tyre barrier. You're either going around it or you're going into it.
Well, you could, because you saw Nikolai just cutting the chicane. So there's a gap on the right-hand side. Those big tyres that they've put up, which were unfortunately hit by one guy who you see here. I don't know who that is. What number is that? We hope he's okay. It looks like he's okay since he's continued. His car is a bit slidey. Either that is by him just doing the track. You see the marshals fixing the barrier down there. Either it is slidey or there's still some dirt on the tires. Yesterday there was some dirt. Oh, there's going to be a team meeting now. Or the drivers meeting, telling from Thomas to tell them calm down. It looks like it. Either that or the race director is going to have a talk with some of the drivers. Unfortunate start to the race, but if it's necessary to do this talk, it is necessary to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, what I was about to mention right before the crash happened, so normally on these race starts we see pretty much everyone going defensive into the first corner, correct? Now we had Max. He didn't cover off the inside. Is that because he expects his teammate in Van Wees to stay behind on that race start?
Maybe. You can actually see there's 5 Talent Factory guys in this race alone, and then you have Tomek in the Blue Star suit. So it's actually 6 guys that work together. 2 of them starting a bit further down than the other 3. You can see Nick having a talk with the drivers saying it's not okay to drive like that. I can't mimic his mouth. I don't do that.
Yeah, perhaps...
It's not a positive, good driving speech he's doing there. Let's say it like that. But it's necessary if we want to keep the racing standard below people crashing into the wall.
Absolutely, and that's also the job of a race director here, like Nick, to just make sure to keep the drivers under control, make sure it doesn't spiral out of control and people start going absolutely.
It looked like from the way Dylan DeWolf was going wide into the corner, there was some pushing going on as he was in 5th, and then went out to positions of being him. I think he lost 3 positions in that one corner alone, down in turn 2. So some argy-bargy going on from some of the drivers, and then the race directors just saying we start again, we start over. Making it fair for the guy who was caught out in the accident. Let's not hope it happens again.
Yeah, absolutely not, because we don't like to see this.
You can see one guy just giving a thumbs up. I think that is car 55, so that is Job van Leyenhorst, also one of the guys who we talked about yesterday in one of the heats, I remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, with race starts like that, with cutting the tires and stuff like that, we also had it yesterday with a car lifting up. Not flipping over, but definitely getting quite a bit airborne with 2 tires off the wall. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it on the stream afterwards. I know the driver who was in the accident. He unfortunately was pushed out into the tire, and I couldn't avoid it, and his car lifted maybe a meter and a half in the up in the air, maybe just a meter. So unfortunately, he was caught in the accident and decided to retire from the race and lost points doing that. He had an okay start, he had an okay qualifying position, but was unfortunately caught up in an accident.
Yeah, and well, that's racing. Sometimes, stuff happens, but we also need to make sure that it doesn't keep on happening as much as possible, and that's why we had the race director just onto the track. If you're just tuning in, we currently have a red flag. We're waiting to get underway once again because we had an accident on the first lap of the final normal heat, right? Because this is the final normal heat. We're heading into the semi-finals after this, and we had, well, the first proper big accident. A tire got rolled onto the track, and we're just waiting to, well, that should be cleaned up already now. The race director was just on track to have a chat with the drivers, and, well, I believe we should be getting underway relatively soon.
Everybody is okay, and nobody has been hurt. Maybe on their ego because of the race director needing to have a talk with some of the drivers. But let's hope when we get restarted that we get a better start, we get a better race going on. Because we wouldn't. It's not nice to keep having red flags, to keep having to stop the race, or also put us behind on schedule. It is currently just a quarter past 11. I don't know when the semi-finals is going. Is that maybe
so
12:30?
the semi-finals are getting underway at 12:30. Yeah. So
okay.
This is the final heat of the normal round. So a time delay here might not necessarily mean too much, because after this we'll have a break anyways for people to get lunch, to just chill out, and perhaps that's just the break we're eating into now. Of course, if this had happened earlier on, and we would have multiple delays, that's when the whole day potentially gets delayed. But after this heat essentially finished, I mean, there's still an hour and 10 minutes from now until the semi-finals are meant to get underway. So if we can get this race going relatively soon once again, it shouldn't really have the biggest consequences.
I think the VAR referees are looking for something on the cameras since the race hasn't gone underway. Either that, or they are trying to find out who is starting where. It looks like it, as we see Max Oppenkamp going. Yeah, so they're just doing the lineup again for the seventh heat, the final heat in this round before we go to the semi-finals. Yeah, let's see if they do the stuff they did before, or they are gonna behave.
Yeah, let's hope they behave this time around. We're to get two races in a row. Well, the same race restarted 2 times.
Oh, it's not fun.
With an accident. Yeah, that just also ruins the flow, doesn't it, right? Because you just go out for a one-shot qualifying, line up quickly, and then get on the way for the race start. There's been a flow like this all the way through the day until now, where there's essentially a break. There's nothing going on for the first time in multiple hours, essentially. And that just ruins the flow for the racing drivers as well. They just had their quali lap. They just had the race start. What do you do now to sort of get back into the flow and back into the mindset?
I try to keep myself within the mindset all the time. In the morning heat we were sat in the karts for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, roughly. I don't know how much time, because you sat there without a clock on your watch, so you can't really tell the time. It's long minutes when you just sat there waiting for you to go out. But I try to keep myself within the zone, within the moment, to not suddenly lose focus. I don't really think that much about it. It sounds weird, but I don't really think that much about, okay, it's a heat, I need to go out and perform. I clear my mind somehow, and then I focus on a lot of other stuff. And then when I need to do my lap, I need my qualifying and my start, I focus on my qualifying and my start, and then get my focus that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, in some ways it kind of comes automatically. At least it does for me in the simulator. Whenever there's pressure on, it kind of just, the focus kind of just comes in automatically, because, well, for example, if you get into the grand finals or something like it, there's pressure on for you to perform. And yeah, I sort of get what you mean, right? You essentially are saying that, it's not much to think about. It just kind of comes automatically in a way.
Yeah. Because you know what you need to do. You know what you're waiting for. So there's no need to be insanely focused 5-10 minutes before you race. So you can. I just slightly increase my focus when I go on track, because I know, okay, this is when I need to perform. Also, if you're too focused, before the race and don't have the mental capacity for it, you might end up losing focus the longer you go into the race. By the end of the session, maybe. Say, for example, the semi-finals is going to be a 20-minute race, so it's going to be nearly double the amount of time we have in the preliminary heats. The finals is going to be shorter, but it's going to be 4 races, so you have to keep your focus multiple times instead of just one instance. So that's also hard for the mental capacity. Will you be able to keep that focus for a long time? I don't really think about myself I was able to do it last year, but I have a better position now, both physically and mentally, to do that. Let's hope it pay out. We can just see laps to go 10, so they're going to do 10 laps for the race with 1. So they're going to restart it now with Max Optenkamp in first and Hoyan van Waas in second. 2 Talent Factory guys doing the same amount of work. We were just about talking about tyre temps. They've been standing now for 5 minutes roughly, so the tires are going to be stone cold.
Absolutely, and you're going to feel that on the first lap. That's one thing that's for sure. But the driver's now trying to get the tyre heat into the temperature. The temperatures into the tires. Yeah, just switching the words around. Now, if you guys watching have any questions, make sure to put them in the YouTube live chat. Right now, we have expert Noah Weichel in the studio ready to answer anything, but we're about to get underway for the final normal heat of the day. This is the final chance the drivers have to score points to make their way or qualify their way into the grand finals and semi-finals. You can see the drivers looking behind them. Once again, Optenkamp not going defensive because it's his teammate that's right behind him, so he's able to just sort of leave the door open and not expect him to set it down the inside. Yeah, someone hitting the wall slightly, and now going into the chicane where it all went wrong last time. Can we get cleanly through this time?
Yeah, nobody's hit the wall this time, so they're cleaner through. We have nearly 3 wide down the straight, down to the NASCAR hairpin with the banking. We can see some drivers have made some position with Nikolai Masenko, the birthday boy, making up 1 position down in turn 1. There's a gap now between there's a gap now between the top 4 and the guy in 5th, so it looks like Dylan de Wolf has lost out on his 5th place position to that is Harald Stilling, I think. I'm not sure about that.
Absolutely, but a cleaner start this time around than it was last time. Before the
much cleaner. Oh, we see Tomek on the inside of Asger Radsted down into turn 1.
Absolutely, and here we are side by side. Like someone jumping into the pits here as well. And we have a question in the YouTube live chat asking no penalties from...
It doesn't look like it currently. I think they would do it after the race because it's so essential. We have Asger in the pits already after 1 lap. So he's going to be in his own pace. He's going to be doing his own stuff. So you can see the guys... So it's actually top 5 now on the track together with Harald Stilling and Dylan de Wolf catching up to the guys. They're fighting behind with some Belgians and some Danes going side by side into the middle part of the track. Let's hope they don't crash each other out. It looks like they haven't done it yet. Going 3 wide on the exit of corner. See some tires getting banged, some Vandel plates getting moved. Those tires are not really stuck on the asphalt. They can be moved if you hit them hard enough. As we can see with the barrier down in the chicane, we have top 3 now going for the lead, driving away. You see Max Optenkamp either driving defensive or trying to overtake Tomek back. It looks like he was going defensive. We have 4 guys in the pit, so 1 has to wait. That is unfortunate. And he has just now seen, we just see him in the back of the camera shot. He's just now found out that he needs to wait. And he's crossed the line also, so it looked like he might get a 30-second penalty as well. So that is really unfortunate for the guy
incredibly devastating, right?
Yeah.
First of all, losing the extra 3 seconds from not being able to go into a box, and then maybe letting his frustrations get to him in that very quick moment, and then potentially overshooting just the tire box a little bit, completely putting him out of contention, and just instead of just losing 3 seconds. In terms of the penalties, we're keeping an eye on it, but nothing as of yet from the race stewards from the incident on the first lap of before the restart.
We have Harald Stilling going into the pits. We have top 3 guys now. Hoyan van Waas in the lead with Max Optenkamp and Tomek Bernadowski in 2nd and 3rd. There's a gap down to Dylan de Wolf in 4th. He's now alone with Harald Stilling going into the pits. Harald is doing a nice stop, coming out, not crossing the line, so that's nice. He will not get a penalty for that. Nikolai Masenko just slightly behind with Job van Leenhorst in. So we actually have all of the Talent Factory guys together on track now, I think. Maybe one is a bit further behind, but that is a mix of a lot of internationalities, not a lot of nationalities here. in top 7.
Yeah, and that's what we, well, in general, just have had this whole weekend, right? People from, well, all over Europe mostly, but from many different types of nationalities showing up to race this and getting ready. Someone in chat asking, where can we see the lap times? Well, you can see them on a live timing sheet. I can try and just send it out in the...
There is a link tree on the DRKC website where it is possible to see the lap times through a live timing stream. The live timing is also getting posted in chat now.
I believe that works. All right, well, I've posted a link, but it looks long. That's what we're using for live time, certainly.
If it works. If it doesn't work, there's a link tree on the DRKC website which you can go in and check out. There's also the point standings and the penalty sheet that is available for drivers and other people to watch and to follow throughout the championship.
Absolutely, and there's well, yeah, you can essentially, if you just search up Danish Rental Kart Championship on your browser, you can then head into their website, and then there you can access the Linktree 2026 it's called, and through there you can sort of find out everything. There's all the information you need, the live timing, the live standings and
we
stuff
have
like
Tomek
that.
Banadowski going to the pit. Sorry for interrupting you. We have Tomek into the pits from 3rd place. Is he going to cross the line? No, but he slid a bit, so he's a bit wonky. You can see he's a bit he's not straight, so he has to turn to go out to the pit. It's going to lose him a bit of time, but if he got fast through the pit entry, he might not. He's coming out just ahead of Asker, so there's still 4 guys for the fight of P1, as Max Opdenkamp has overtaken Højen for the first place position, and Dylan de Wolf and Nikolai Masengo catching up to the 2 guys in front. So it's maybe going to be a 6-man fight for first place. We see Tomek and Asker pushing each other down the straight to gain some more speed, to gain some more lap time, to try to keep the pace high. That was also something we talked about yesterday. When you have taken your joker, the worst thing you can do is fight for position. Also, if you haven't taken it but some others have, the worst thing you can do is fight for position, because then you're going to lose some time that you wouldn't lose otherwise. You see Dylan de Wolf going inside of Højen van Vaars, not really working out, going side by side through the chicane, I think. Oh, they're going to lose time to Max Opdenkamp. He's gone further ahead in the lead now, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be a funny experience to see how many guys are going to be side by side when they exit the pits during their joker lap.
Yeah, and currently now with this battling going on, I mean, if you look at the lap times, Opdenkamp last time was a 54.4, Van Vees was a 54.8, Dylan de Wolf and Masengo all the way down in the 53s at the moment. So
we see Højen going in inside, just pushing Nikolai a bit to make more space for himself. Nikolai doesn't look like didn't look like he liked that overtake. Both of the guys aggressive drivers. Maybe Nikolai would take it back. It doesn't look like it. It would be good opportunities for those guys to take the joker lap now, to take the pit stop, to get out of the battling and into their own race. You see none of them actually take it. Interesting enough. Currently they're just losing loads of time to Asker and Tomek. You see Asker and Tomek crossing the start-finish line
and
now.
You can see there Nikolai Masengo making the move down the inside of turn 2 as well.
Tomek doing 53.6. So he's currently the fastest man on track, with Asker just behind him doing a 53.7. So those 2 are really pushing it now, trying to catch up to Max Opdenkamp, who's in the lead, currently doing 7/10 slower. So they are really pushing it, those 2 guys.
Absolutely, and this race is evolving as well, right? Because at the front they're going slower, behind them they're going quicker. So we're going to get a contraction of the field and potentially some battles here as we get towards, well, we're getting closer towards the end of this 7th heat and the final normal round of the day that has been restarted because of an incident on the first lap. But since then, it's been clean. There's not been any incidents. There's not been any crazy crashes or stuff like that since the first lap. So it's sort of settled down. Still none of them taking their pit stop quite yet. Still going on the racetrack. And here we see the 2 leaders making their way on the back straight.
If we take a look at the penalties, card number 40, that is Jason Kuhl has gotten a warning for pushing another driver. That might be in the start of the race, the first start, and then we have card number 60. That is Elias Tillier. That was the guy who would cross the line. Now he actually got a 30-second penalty for leaving too early. That is also something that you can get a penalty for, leaving too early before the light has turned green.
Yeah, that's in the pit stop just to...
Yeah, that is in the pit stop. You can see at the bottom left-hand corner. Those 3 pit slots that is available for drivers to take throughout the race, as Dylan de Wolf has caught up to Max Opdenkamp in the lead. They have also gone faster now, going down the time. Tomek and Asker still going fast on track. We have Nikolai Masengo going to the pits. No, that is Dylan de Wolf, sorry. Coming to the pits, is going to cross the line. It doesn't look like. We have Royan van Vaas sliding into the pit entry, and Job van Leenhorst as well. 3 guys with the same suits, teammates throughout this race.
You can see Van Vaas was absolutely sideways into there, right? Locking the race a little bit, pushing it flat out, but he didn't cross any line or anything like it, so that should not be a penalty for him.
And Tomek and Asker have gone out way ahead of those 3 guys who were just in the pits. We can see they are, no, when they cross down, you can see here actually, Tomek and Asker, the 2 guys here with the camera panning to them. Just behind them is Dylan de Wolf, who's just exited the pits. That is roughly 2-second gap maybe, that they have lost during their fighting session in the middle of the race.
Absolutely, and then let's have the rest of the guys come into the pit as well. We're still missing Masengo and Upton Camp in the pits, I believe.
They're getting the, I think they're getting the 1 lap left sign. Both of them coming to the pits with Optekamp and Nikolai getting close, and oh, he slid. Oh, he's really sideways in the pits. That's really gonna ruin his exit. Doesn't lose that much. He actually gains on Optekamp throughout this. You see Tomek going defensive now with Asker behind him. It's gonna be a fun exit. They have gone ahead of Dylan de Wolf, both of them. So it's gonna be a four-guy battle for third and fourth place. You see them there in the focus. Tomek going defensive in front of him. Will Asker be able to get on the side? He is going side by side with him, I think. Yeah, no, he just stayed behind.
Absolutely, and well, this is the final lap, right? So this is where it's on for. This is where the battle is about to go down. They only have a couple of corners remaining, essentially, for them to make a move for position.
Oh, it's going to be a massive final corner here. Is Nikolai going to make a move for third place into the final corner? He is not. Tomek is going to take the win with Asger Radsted finishing second, Max Optenkamp in third, and Nikolai Masengo in fourth. Royan van Vaas in fifth, Dylan Wolf in sixth, Harald Stilling in seventh, Jo van Leeuwenhorst in eighth, and all the other guys. See some Elias Tillier come in P9, but with his 30-second penalty, he's going to drop way to the back of the grid.
And actually, a pretty close finish here as well, right? We have the top 8 within 3.8 seconds, which was the same gap that we've seen multiple people win by to second place in these races, but now we have top 8 within all of that. Now, in YouTube chat, we have Matthias Racing asking, what are the Talent Factory drivers? And maybe you can just elaborate on that, Noah.
Talent Factory drivers. Talent Factory is a team from the Netherlands, I think, which you can see actually one of the guys, Elias Tillier, with his cardskin suit on. Cardskin is a skin-tight suit which is supposed to be more aerodynamic and gives you some lap time over the laps. Talent Factory is some crazy fast drivers. Many drivers from the Netherlands and from Belgium, but also some from Poland. I think Kuba Dwinicki being one of the new drivers for the team, just being announced a couple of days ago. So it's basically a pretty big team of talent.
Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's in the title, right? You can recognize them out on track by looking for a blue sign kind of suit with a little bit of black in it, and yeah, well, there were multiple of those drivers on the track right now here today. We have as well saying in chat saying crazy good lap times.
That is correct. The thing is, with the air temperature being lower compared to yesterday and the day before, the carts are able to go faster. Also, the tires not being able to overheat that much, being able to give better grip and faster speeds through the corners. It's also a bit more windy, so that might give some more slipstream throughout the straights and throughout some of the drivers in the race.
Yes, absolutely. And remember, if you guys have any questions, make sure to pop them in YouTube chat. We're staying now here for a little bit with Noah, just answering anything before we go on for a lunch break. Now there is no more normal round racing. Next up are the semi-finals, so stuff is starting to get real. We have Matthias in chat asking, is Jakob a part of that team?
If you're talking about Jakob Pancincin, who got a 30-second penalty in the race before, I don't think he is part of the team, no. He is a, what do you call it, when they are just racing by themselves?
Well, a privateer.
Yeah, privateer. So Jakob is a privateer racer. He is, I don't think he races there anymore, but he was part of the BGK club, Children's Karting Club in Copenhagen. They also have a department in Aarhus. You can see actually Mads Frederiksen with the skin suit that they have in the frame down in the left-hand side. He is one of the BGK drivers from Racehall Copenhagen.
Absolutely, and yeah, well, there are multiple teams in here, right? And essentially, what is the benefits of being in teams in rental karting? Because it's not like you're developing a car or anything specific like it, you know. So what are the benefits of being part of a team?
It's the benefit is you will be able to have someone to work together with. You can see Optenkamp and Juan van Waas and Dylan de Wolf being able to work together. But if some guys might be more aggressive than others, they aren't very likely to work together. Even though you're a part of a team, you may not like each other that much. So there might be some inter-team battles, as we see in Formula 1 also, between the Mercedes drivers. It happens everywhere. if even though you're part of a team and you have same suits on, you might not agree on everything. Yeah, this is normal, I think.
Do you get a big benefit as well from sharing information and sharing knowledge? Oh, there we are actually. Now we're on. Yeah, we're on the broadcast. This is where we're standing, and well, actually, you can see right here we have our broadcast, and here we have some live timing as well. Do you get a big amount of benefit from passing knowledge between each other about go-karts, about how to drive the track, about the grip on the circuit? For example, if your teammate has just driven in a heat before that, do you then talk about the track state and stuff like that, or do you just...
We don't really... We usually talk, when you talk about it, you talk a lot about how the kart handles and maybe share some info about how to take different corners and stuff. Also in the practice sessions you might see drivers in the same suits, driving the same lines, like going in the train behind each other to show the lines, to maybe getting some time also with the slipstream. That way you can educate each other. Going around the track in the practice sessions. It's a good way of doing it. I am not a part of a team. I think I am a part of a team for this championship. I don't have the skin suit on, but I mingle sometimes with some of the other drivers. They let me do it, which is fair enough. I like it. It's fun. And then I can gain some stuff in between them. So I drive a bit with them when I'm behind them. I drive a bit with them when I'm in front of them also. So I show them stuff, they show me stuff. So kind of exchange that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is lovely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to call it a pause, right? It's time for us to get a little bit of lunch as well. We've covered now the final couple of heats now today. And next up are the semi-finals. They're planned to go underway at 12:30 local time. Currently it's 11:38. So in about 50 minutes, the semi-finals are about to get underway, which will be driven on the alternative layout, which then means we won't have a pit stop, but we'll have a joker lap, which is, well, essentially just as strategical as it was the other time around. I'm going to get one of those burgers for lunch. I think they are quite good. What are you getting?
I might be getting some French fries or something.
Yeah, something like it. They have a lounge area just over here with some pretty lovely food. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to tune in at 12:30 because that's where we're planning to get underway for the semi-finals. If you're looking to just tune in for the finals, they should be going underway at 3:45 local time, or in about 4 hours from now. And as you said, the semi-finals are racing for about 20 minutes and should provide some good strategy, some good content. Well, we're about to find a champion. Thank you for being with us in the studio, Noah. And make sure to stay tuned, and we'll speak to you all later.